Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to News Fist. Tonight, the Twitter files part 2. Oh my god, yes, Elon Musk has spilled the tea. He's taken that tea, he's spraying it everywhere, and oh my god, all of our worst fears are confirmed. Don't know if you remember, even just a year ago, when you'd say to certain people, right-leaning views are massively suppressed on Twitter. Oh my god, that place is a complete bot farm. It is being controlled by spooky government powers. And people would be like, nah, come on, you're crazy. Take your pills, schizo. Well, I took my pills, thanks mom, and it turns out that I was right. I mean, not just me, fucking everyone who had any idea what the fuck is going on. I guess that's conspiracy theorists 100-0 at this point. Except for the conspiracy theory about the aliens from Sirius interfering with my pajamas. I'm still convinced that it's true, but I haven't found the evidence yet. Don't worry, Graham Hancock is on it. I have it on good authority that his next show is going to be all about the Syrians inside my pajamas and the incredible astrological significance of the swirly patterns on them. I can't wait. But aside from my, very, very meaningful conspiracy theories about my pajamas, the fucking Twitter files, mate. Oh my god, there was a space last night. I just hopped on. It's nearly 3 a.m. I'm like, oh my god, I gotta get a video out. I gotta be ahead of the curve. I gotta, you guys have got to fucking see this. It is freaking insane. So, from Barry Weiss, who, I believe used to work for the New York Times, but seems to have changed sides, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, she's come over to the dark side of, actually doing good journalism, it would seem. Kudos to you, Ms. Weiss. Go on. She's not watching this. But maybe, you never know. 5 years from now, she might go back over my back catalogue after I have been, publicly drawn and quartered and arrested for wrongthink or something like that, and be like, oh, wow, thanks for the shout out, you're dead now, but, thanks, right? So the new Twitter files investigation reveals that teams of Twitter employees build blacklists, prevent disfavored tweets from trending, and actively limit the visibility of entire accounts or even trending topics, all in secret without informing users. Again, everybody fucking knew this was happening, right? Anyone who was subject to it, of course, This was the big problem with the way the system was set up. Basically, if you had the right opinions, you just cruise through completely free. You're like, hey, I use Twitter, there's no problem. But for the wrong thinkers, oh my god, it was a completely different system. A two-layered system with no accountability whatsoever. Just how certain people like it. But now that Musky boy has gotten his fingers all over Twitter, it looks like it's all over, Twitter bros. I can't wait to see some of you in front of a fucking congressional tribunal. And preferably in jail. Because let's not fucking beat around the bush here, right? The systematic censorship on Twitter has caused very serious real-world harm. Unlike the kind of bullshit the lefties are always going on about how speech is violence, the actual suppression of scientific debate on various medical procedures and indeed stuff that's been going on over the last 2 years has almost certainly resulted in real, measurable loss of life. I don't know whether these people can be done for it, but I hope that there are a whole bunch of people trying to figure that out at the moment. Twitter once had a mission to give everyone the power to create and share ideas and information instantly without barriers. Along the way, barriers were nevertheless erected, because everyone loves to say that they're for free speech, especially when they're a government pretending to be a democracy, because they're like, oh, look, we're a democracy, we rule legitimately. We don't mind if you criticize us, but of course, in truth, they do mind. They mind very, very much. They don't want you spreading the wrong kinds of information. And to talk about what was going on with COVID, look, for example, at Stanford's Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, right, who is quite well known, who argued that COVID lockdowns would harm children. Twitter secretly placed him on a trends blacklist, which prevented his tweets from trending. Now, this is a shot of what Twitter actually looks like on the back end to the people controlling your life. your betters, the crazy tranny lefties who are like basically controlling your life behind the scenes because they're much better people. They went to university, they studied neo-Marxism and feminist dance theory, so of course they should be the ones to decide. And as you can see, there are a bunch of tags on this. Active shows the active account, recent abuse strike, and a trends blacklist tab, which means that nothing that this account says can ever get onto trending. Might like to note, this is a professor from the Stanford School of Medicine, probably back when Stanford was an actual freaking university and not a glorified daycare center for aspiring neo-Marxist fucktards. Or consider the popular right-wing talk show Dan Bongino, who at one point was slapped with a search blacklist. Now look at this, right? This is all the little tags that Twitter has on you behind the scenes, and I should point out that if this is the kind of system that Twitter has, it is almost certainly the same at places like Google, Facebook, and YouTube. You can bet that they have a whole architecture behind the scenes that us nosebleed plebes don't get to have a look at. Unaccountable. That's how you get your ass shadow banned. In the case of Dan Bongino, notification spike, search blacklist. So you couldn't search for him. This is what most people mean by shadow banning. NSFW view, don't know what that means. And SPMA, also don't know what that means. Sounds ominous. If you rearrange the letters, it spells spam. Spapama. Twitter set the account of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, head of Turning Point USA, to do not amplify. Oh my god, how many of these freaking things have they got? I bet you it's like a secret sauce. They've got a flag for every single kind of eventuality. Do not amplify. So presumably that basically means that anything Charlie Kirk tried to tweet would just get zero engagement. And this is exactly, of course, what everyone on the right, and especially anyone aspiring to politics who is not a left-wing retard, has been saying for ages. You can't get no traction on the Twitter sphere. Twitter, however, denied that it did such things. In 2018, Twitter's Vijaya Gadde, then the head of legal policy and trust. Legal policy and trust. You trust? Trust and safety. More like lies and fucking destruction. Am I right, bros? Of course, if they called it the Department of Lies and Career fucking ruining, I suppose it wouldn't have the same ring to it, This highlights very, very clearly, right, just how full of shit all of these people are. Oh, for the trust. Oh, for the safety. Oh, for the children. It's just about power. It has always been about power. It is just simply about silencing your political opponents. But you don't want to look like the bad guy, so you come out and say, oh, it's for the trust and safety and for the children. Fuck you. Oh my god. Just I'm so fucking sick of this shit. I am starting to reach the point where I wish that if people were going to be evil, they would at least just come out and say, oh yeah, we're evil, screw you. Instead of this whole oh, we're not evil, we're doing it for you because we really care. It's even more infuriating, right? Imagine if fucking Saddam Hussein was like, oh yeah, the reason why I did a coup and executed all those people in that football field was for trust and safety and to protect the children. Oh my god, it's even worse than just, taking people out and shooting them in the back of the head and just being like, oh yeah, I did it because I'm an asshole. Anyway. And Kayvon Bekpure, head of product, said, we do not shadow ban. They added, and we certainly don't shadow ban based on political viewpoints and ideology. Yeah, they do. They totally do. Oh my god. I would like to think that none of these people will be able to get a job anywhere else after lying so hard, but you just know that there'll be a ton of lefty tech platforms, presumably, just willing to take them into their little egg sack and just be like, oh, it's okay. We know you lied, but it was for a good cause. We know you destroyed people's lives, but it was for a good cause. I thought intent didn't matter. I thought consequences were all that mattered. I thought the left was all about that consequentialism. I guess not. It's okay when we do it. Am I right? What many people call shadow banning, Twitter executives and employees call visibility filtering. Or VF. Oh, catchy. Multiple high-level sources confirmed its meaning. Think about visibility filtering as being a way for us to suppress what people see to different levels. It's a very powerful tool, one senior Twitter employee told us. Yes, it is a very powerful tool. And I would just like to say that this whole thing is basically giving me a massive white pill, because deprived of Twitter and the ability to granularly suppress sort of opinions that they don't like, news that they don't like, on the fly as it happens, this entire sort of globalist control agenda just had one of its very major wheels come off. Oh no. Oh, F in the chat for the WEF agenda, boys. I'm heartbroken. I'm heartbroken. Look, I mean, you may laugh, right? But I've got to go home to, Klaus Schwab, and, he's gonna be all crying. I'll have to make him a milky tea and set him by the fireplace and put a rug over him, and he'll probably, swear at me in German for like a couple of hours. He gets very, very tetchy, when his world domination plans don't go very well. He's all like, oh, my world domination plans have not gone well. I mean, we penetrated the cabinets, but now we have lost control of the grand narrative. Oh, Klaus, I feel for you, buddy. I feel for you. Oh, God. F in the chat. F in the chat, boys. VF refers to Twitter's control over user visibility. It used VF to block searches of individual users, to limit the scope of a particular tweet's discoverability, to block select users' posts from ever appearing on the trending page, and from inclusion in hashtag searches. So, despite Twitter saying literally for years, oh no, we don't shadow ban, oh, we're for democracy, they were absolutely shadow banning. And I'd like to point this out, it's not mentioned in this, but I was on the Twitter spaces that this came out from. Twitter did a whole bunch of this at the direction of not only the US government, but the CIA, the FBI, and all of those deep state gremlins, right? So, again, I guess it's conspiracy theorists 101 to 0 at this point. I have honestly lost count. All without users' knowledge. Well, of course, without users' knowledge, right? By definition, that's why the best way that censorship works. If people know that something is censored, they might start seeking it out. They'll be like, oh, why don't you want me to know this thing? I'm a big boy, I can decide for myself. No. What you want is to censor the thing and have nobody know about it, of course. Quote, we control visibility quite a bit. Quite a bit. And we control the amplification of your content. Quite a bit. Yes, I bet you do. And normal people do not know how much we do. Oh, yes, they're heroes, really. They're heroes. If it weren't for the good people at Twitter, Trump might have gotten re-elected. The people might have actually had a voice. And they may have made the wrong choice. Oh, my God. And then where would we be? Yeah, then where would we be? One Twitter engineer told us 2 additional Twitter employees confirmed. The group that decided whether to limit the reach of certain users was the Strategic Response Team Global Escalation Team. That sounds like something straight out of a fucking CIA, like, backroom, honestly. Or SRT-GET. Catchy. It was often handled up to 200 cases a day. This is literally the Ministry of Truth. From like George Orwell. Like, oh my God. But there existed a level beyond official ticketing. Like a pyramid, like the peak of the pyramid, the eye in the pyramid, some might say. Beyond the rank and file moderators following the company's policy on paper, the tranny jannies, as they say. And that is the, quote, Site Integrity Policy Escalation Support, known as SIP-PES, or SIPES. Jeez. Couldn't you get a more catchy acronym? Jesus Christ, I got all this fucking money and influence. This secret group included Head of Legal Policy and Trust, Vijay Gade, the Global Head of Trust and Safety, Yoel Roth, and subsequent CEOs Jack Dorsey, Parag Agrawal, and others. So Jack was in on it. Despite looking like a slightly maladapted gremlin with a sort of soy haircut and beard, Jack was in on it. He knew what the hell was going on. I don't know why he turned. I don't know why he flipped. Perhaps At the start, he was like talked into it and thought, yeah, I agree with this. But then once it was all taken over, it became a beast beyond his control. I don't know. But I mean, he should have frickin' said something, I guess. I mean, look, I don't know, man. Like they could have just said, look, Jack, that's a nice pair of kneecaps you got there, Jack. You wouldn't want anything to happen to them just because you can, expose their agenda. Look, we're doing it to save the planet, to save democracy, and your kneecaps functioning are an integral part of that. Fuck, mate. Imagine the pressure like someone like Jack was under. I don't know. I mean, I suppose it's possible that he was a complete icy psychopath under his scruffy exterior. But the fact that he had to appear on Joe Rogan with Vijaya Gadde, who was like obviously basically telling him what he could and couldn't say, suggests to me that he was sort of a bit of a gormless idiot. I don't know. I guess we will find out. This is where the biggest, most politically sensitive decisions got made in the SIP-PEZ. That's what it's called. Yes, the SIP-PEZ. Think high follow account. Controversial, another Twitter employee told us. For these, there would be no ticket or anything. Oh, awesome! Unaccountable dictatorial power. Just the way they like it. Oh, you can just smell the Marxism. Oh, it's getting me all... Get me all erect, boys. Oh, I love the smell of the scent of a Marxist. Fuck. One of the accounts that rose to this level of scrutiny was Libs of TikTok, an account that was on the Trends blacklist and was designated as do not take action on user without consulting with SIP-PEZ. And we've got a picture here. As you can see, big banner up the top. Now, the reason, of course, that Libs of TikTok was on this list was because every single time they tried to cancel them, they basically got a ton of blowback because Libs of TikTok was not really doing anything except just reposting other people's content. This account, which Chaya Rachik began in November 2020 and now boasts over 1.4 million followers, was subjected to 6 suspensions in 2022 alone, Rachik says. Each time Rachik was blocked from posting for as long as a week. Twitter repeatedly informed Rachik that she had been suspended for violating Twitter's policy against, quote, hateful conduct. But in an internal SIP-PEZ memo from October 2022, after her 7th suspension, the committee acknowledged that Libs of TikTok has not directly engaged in behavior violative of the hateful conduct policy. In other words, we can't get you on any specific charge, but we know you're the kind of people that we don't like, so we're gonna ban ya. Site policy recommends placing Libs of TikTok in a 7-day timeout at the account level, meaning not for any specific tweet, based on the account's continued pattern of indirectly violating Twitter's hateful conduct policy by tweeting content that either leads to or intends to incite harassment against individuals and institutions that support LGBTQ communities. At this time, site policy has not found explicitly violative tweets, which would result in permanent suspension of the account. So basically, Twitter management did not like Libs of TikTok exposing the LGBTQIA+++ LGBT lettuce, bacon, and tomato sandwich craziness. The type of enforcement action, repeated 7-day timeouts at the account level, will not lead to permanent suspension. However, should Libs of TikTok engage in any other direct tweet level violations, we will move forward with a permanent suspension. So they were just looking for an excuse to ban Libs of TikTok. The committee justified her suspensions internally by claiming her posts encouraged online harassment of hospitals and medical providers by insinuating that gender-affirming healthcare is equivalent to child abuse or grooming. But they're perfectly fair and they don't have an agenda. Compare this to what happened when Rachik herself was doxxed on November the 21st, 2022. A photo of her home with her address was posted in a tweet that has garnered more than 10,000 likes. When Rachik told Twitter that her address had been disseminated, she says Twitter support replied with this message: "We reviewed the reported content and we didn't find it to be in violation of the Twitter rules. No action was taken, and the doxing tweet is still up." And very, very helpfully, they say, if you have any further concerns about your intellectual property, privacy, or personal safety, the following guidelines can be of assistance. Oh, they really care. Man, this could have seriously gotten red chick like killed or badly hurt, right? No one's on the left is like, more violence. Jesus Christ. In internal Slack messages, Twitter employees spoke of using technicalities to restrict the visibility of tweets and subjects. Here's Yoel Roth, Twitter's then global head of trust and safety, in a direct message to a colleague in early 2021. A lot of times, SI? What is SI? I presume that means like trust and safety? Has used technicality spam enforcements as a way to solve a problem created by safety under enforcing their policies, which again isn't a problem per se, but it keeps us from addressing the root cause of the issue, which is that our safety policies need more attention. Let me guess, y'all. Let me guess. The problem with your safety policies was that they were too tight, right? They needed to be relaxed. No, of course not. He was basically saying, we're not totalitarian enough, bros. People are still saying things that we don't like. Fortunately, Yoel Roth has now been fired and has actually left Twitter for Mastodon, I believe, presumably in anticipation of the massive amount of shit that is going to fall very, very deservedly on his head. I hope he enjoys it very much. 6 days later, in a direct message with an employee on the Health Misinformation Privacy and Identity Research team, Yoth requested more research to support expanding, quote, non-removal policy interventions like disabling engagement and de-amplification visibility filtering. That's shadow banning. We want even more shadow banning. Roth wrote, the hypothesis underlying much of what we've implemented is that if exposure to, for example, misinformation directly causes harm, we should use remediations that reduce exposure and limit the spread virality of content is a good way to do that. So, as everyone with a brain realized, the whole speech is violence thing made it all the way to the top of the shadow state and was used to justify all kinds of horrors. Imagine that. If only someone had spoken out. Oh yeah, they couldn't because they were all fucking shadow banned. Roth added, we got Jack on board with implementing this for civic integrity in the near term, right, which I presume means they basically told him a whole bunch of scary stuff about Trump and said that if they didn't do it, the entire country was going to be overthrown and everything was going to be set on fire, because that's what these people do. They're like, oh my God, we got to do the thing now. If you don't do the thing now, if you don't restrict people's rights now, oh my God, there's going to be a catastrophe. This playbook is very well documented by this point. But we're going to need to make a more robust case to get this into our repertoire of policy remediations, especially for other policy domains. So again, they started with civic integrity, right? They basically used like Trump as like a wedge. And then once they had established that principle, that beachhead, they're like, oh, well, we're already banning for civic integrity. We really need to start banning for like other stuff. And this is how the monster grew. So yes, basically Musk has spilled the tea and, there will be more coming out. But before I go, I just want to remind you of something. Twitter can read all of your direct messages. None of the direct messages on Twitter are encrypted, which means that all of the employees can read them. If you have access to Twitter's back end, you can read all of their DMs. Now, enough people were not aware of this. I was certainly aware of this for ages, which is why I never DM'd anything on Twitter. Well, okay, to be perfectly frank, I stopped using it. You can also subscribe to my Twitter, by the way, if you're interested. But this is massively huge. All the political organizing that was taking place on Twitter, all of the like Antifa bullshit that was taking place on Twitter, they knew they could have like looked into it at any times. How many elections all around the world did Twitter interfere with by looking at the private messages, the direct messages between political figures and their followers? I mean, even if you didn't just, even if they were cautious and they moved conversations off Twitter, you could still tell that people were in touch with certain people, which is an incredible intelligence tool. Anyway, that is the end of the Twitter Files Part 2. I will be bringing you more as it comes. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, and all that kind of other stuff. Linky in the description below. We really need to get 100 subs on Rumble so we can stream. I stream every Saturday night, 10 p.m. London time at Happening TV on YouTube. You can, again, linky in the description. Come and join us if you're around. Good night, and see you later.